Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Laura and I are very excited to be here, and we'd also like to thank Movable Inc. and Braze for having us. As Allison mentioned, my name is Karen Park, and I'm the Director of CRM over at Peacock, and I oversee the team of email and mobile marketers in charge of campaign production.
And I'm Lauren. My team is responsible for our audiences and reporting on our CRM program.
For those of you who are not familiar with Peacock, Peacock is NBC's streaming service that launched back in July of 2020, and we offer a wide variety of content that includes originals, live sports, movies, next day episodes of NBC and Bravo shows, and of course, Yellowstone.
I'm going to be honest, we were going to start this off by asking who here is familiar with a year in review campaign, perhaps most notably Spotify Wrapped, but after yesterday's sessions, it became apparent that it was a silly question. So how many of you have sent a year in review campaign to your customers? Great. Well, we're here to do a deep dive on how we executed our year in review email, but first we want to talk a bit about our team.
Our team consists of 25 marketers, and we fall under the Growth Lifecycle Audience Development org, and our CRM team covers 3 different areas. This includes the retention strategy area, strategy and analysis, and lastly, campaign execution.
The retention strategy team plans our campaign calendar, our always-on lifecycle journeys, sets our messaging goals, and develops playbooks. My team sets our targeting strategies, builds and maintains audiences in our CDP, creates segments in Braze, and manages the reporting on our individual campaigns and channels as a whole. And Karen's team builds all of our campaigns in-house in Braze, manages design requests and the relationships with our vendors like Movable Inc. and Braze.
As a streaming service, our top 3 goals are to always 1, engage with fans, 2, drive platform engagement and retention through viewership, and 3, deliver a premium experience. With this, the questions we always have to ask ourselves when planning and prioritizing campaigns is A, how do we surface content that we think subscribers will be interested in? B, how do we tailor and personalize each message at scale? And C, how do we lean into titles, franchises, and topical moments to create moments of comfort, curiosity, and nostalgia, and deliver all of this in a fun, lighthearted way?
Our primary success metrics are driving paid subscriptions through upgrades and winbacks, reducing churn, and increasing viewership metrics like usage hours, how often users are visiting the platform, and how many titles they watch.
As of today, we leverage 3 channels: push notifications, emails, and in-app messages. And as Lauren mentioned, we build all of our campaigns in-house through Braze. With this, with 3 owned channels, we always have to consider what is the best time, audience, and channel to deliver any message.
We have some examples here. Starting on the left, we try to deliver timely messages via push, such as new episode reminders for Vanderpump Rules, we won't get into that, and tune-in reminders for live sports like Premier League. And moving over to email, we have the first email in our Welcome series, which highlights our breadth of content and introduces product features, and then a premiere email for one of our new originals, Butt Kiss. And finally, an in-app message that encourages mobile-only viewers to watch Peacock on a large screen.
And of course, since we're at a Movable Inc. conference, we also want to showcase additional ways we utilize Movable Inc. in our emails. On the far left, we have an example of a countdown timer that we included in an offer email to drive urgency and redemptions before the promotional period ended. In the second example, we have one of our Premier League emails where we have a dynamic calendar powered by Movable Inc., where we display match times, the team names, and the team logos, and this has saved us a lot of production time over the years. Third, we have an example of a live poll that was included in a wildcard weekend email back in January, and we asked sports fans to vote which team that they think would win the game that weekend. For those of you that missed it, it was the Bengals. And lastly, we have an example of a scratch-off in a Love Island email where we asked viewers to interact and guess which cast member said this quote. On the right, we have the reveal of the scratch-off with the answers. Anyone a Love Island fan in the room? Nice. Season 5 USA drops on Peacock this summer, so stay tuned.
So now raise your hand if you're a Peacock subscriber and remember receiving this campaign from us this past December. Oh, good, okay. So we'll be walking you through how we pulled this together using Braze and Movable Inc. to celebrate our subscribers and showcase the depth of our library. We'll discuss some of the challenges we faced and the creative solutions we came up with to deliver an engaging and personalized experience.
So in early planning phases, we set out 5 objectives for this campaign. One was to highlight subscriber activity and dynamically populate the creative. And the second was to display the creative in an eye-catching way to immediately grab users' attention.
We also wanted to encourage sharing on social media to maximize impressions, highlight some of Peacock's top content from the year, and a sneak peek of some upcoming content. To execute this, we knew we needed to leverage our partners. Starting with our technology partners, Braze is our customer engagement platform where we build, test, target, and deploy all of our campaigns. We use Movable Inc. to enable one-to-one personalized content recommendations and all of the interactive modules that Karen highlighted a few slides back. We partner with Peacock on custom data solutions that enable personalized content and preference centers. And finally, mParticle is our CDP, where we build, connect, and share audiences across marketing teams.
We'd also like to highlight our internal partners that we collaborate closely with on a day-to-day basis, and we could have not launched this campaign without them. The first is the copy team who helped us develop all the fun language that went into the email, the design team who created multiple asset variations and revised the assets for us during feedback rounds and helped us develop the email template, the decision sciences team who helped analyze the different data sets to help us identify target audiences, and the brand marketing team who helped us identify titles for content promotion. As you can see, it took a village to launch this campaign.
One of the first steps in the planning process for this campaign was identifying the data points that we wanted to highlight in the email. Of course, we wanted to identify stats that users would find interesting and shareable, but we have a constraint that's unique to video streaming data, a privacy law called VPPA that restricts us from sharing users' viewing behavior with third parties without consent. Some streamers get around this with completely in-house CRM tools, but since we leverage third-party platforms like Braze, we have to be careful and creative in what data we can send and highlight and not call out viewership of specific titles. So we partnered with our legal team to identify data points that were allowable and still met our goals. We landed on most streamed month, favorite data stream, genre streamed, and longest binge. Then we worked with our decision sciences team to perform analysis on these stats. They provided us with distributions that allowed us to set thresholds on what we wanted to show in the email. Once we identified the statistics, we worked on the data architecture. Our partners in tech stack provided the flexibility and functionality we needed to pass the data necessary to execute this efficiently. Starting with identifying the users and gathering the stats in our data warehouse, we then sent a custom user attribute to mParticle to identify these users with personalized stats. That custom attribute flowed to Braze and allowed us to create the segments to target these users. Peacock stored the user stats and provided the service for Movable Inc. to call. And Movable Inc. custom apps joined the Braze users with their individualized stats to render the personalized email at message open. Now moving on to the audience, you might think this is an email that we send to everyone, but it's a little more complicated than that. One of the first audience splits that we do is subscription tier. We separate users that only have access to our free ad-supported tier because they don't have access to all the same content and they behave differently, so it's helpful to have a separate campaign for measurement. Then we layered in account tenure, excluding users that recently created an account because a year in review isn't relevant to them yet. And then we looked at activity and excluded users that didn't have recent viewership or didn't meet the viewership thresholds that we set. And for these users that didn't meet the tenure or viewership requirements, we created a fallback campaign. This creative might look familiar because it's the bottom half of the personalized email that highlights Peacock's top content and upcoming content. So we ended up with 4 campaigns, a personalized and generic version for the free tier and a personalized and generic version for premium subscribers.
Taking the data points and audiences that Lauren had mentioned, my team then set out to brainstorm the best way to reflect the personalized elements in the email, but also showcase the breadth of the content library on our platform. So as you can see in the example on the right, we have our genre stream module where we use color contrasting to highlight the genres that the subscriber had actually streamed, but the grayed out icons showcase the genres that the user has yet to explore. Once we had all the creative elements, we delivered the files to Movable Inc.'s client success team, who then applied the logic and criteria set by the data exercise and connected the custom apps to the data lake set up by Pickaxe. And afterwards, my team then took the snippets to build out a master template wireframe. As we were building the master template wireframe, we ran into a creative challenge with GIF size limitations at the top email module. There was a lot of frames inside the GIF, so we had to quickly pivot and create a custom attribute in Braze for the most streamed month, and we utilized liquid logic and content blocks to set 12 criterias to display the creative dynamically. As a result, we were able to quickly pivot, seamlessly execute, and optimize user experience with image load speeds, with the data stored in the platform. Once we had all the elements in place, we launched the campaigns first by building the campaigns in Braze and running multiple internal tests to ensure the data and creative was rendering correctly.
Then we created the segments and assigned control groups.
Afterwards, we soft launched to a small group of users to ensure all systems were seeing volume and working properly.
Then we launched to the remaining eligible users and continued to monitor the send. Before we get to the results, I want to touch a bit on our measurement methodology. Starting with channel level measurement, we randomly assign a holdout that rotates quarterly and is excluded from all marketing emails. We use this to measure the effectiveness of our email channel as a whole. But for something like this year in review campaign, we're focused on campaign level measurement, where the random holdout is assigned right before the campaign deploys. We assign this holdout in the Braze campaign or Canvas Flow UI and use this to determine the incrementality of a specific campaign by comparing the metrics of email openers against those that didn't receive the campaign. Now getting to the results, we saw a 20% reduction in churn rate, a 6% lift in upgrade rate, and a 2 percentage point lift in return rate, which is email openers coming back to the platform and watching content in the next 7 days. So overall, the campaign was a huge success.
So what's next? Discussions are already underway. We're figuring out how to enhance this year's campaign, and we're hoping to turn this into a multi-channel journey with additional touch points, push notifications and in-app notifications, and increase the impact.
We're also looking at how we can tailor the campaign to specific fandoms that we have on the platform, like WWE, Premier League, Bravo, and True Crime. So keep an eye on your inboxes later this year, and if you aren't subscribed, then obviously subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.